Noah, we were just talking about all the different roles and background that you've gotten in terms of movement fitness, between your martial arts, your climbing, your ninjahood, and your doctorhood. So a bit, just describe yourself through those lenses and how it kind of comes together in terms of your ability to speak on the importance of movement and fitness for kids.
Sure. Well, thanks, David. I mean, it's great to be speaking with you again. And, it's been it's been an interesting path I've gone through, of course, all the Ninja Warrior stuff, 7 years on NBC's American Ninja Warrior. I've been a lifelong rock climber. I've climbed for over 30 years. I did gymnastics and wrestling in high school. And my father always told me that it wasn't really enough to develop your mind, but if you didn't have a strong body to go along with it, then you're really at a disadvantage in terms of enjoying life and enjoying the fruits of your intellectual labor. So, I think that the intellectual pursuits and the physical pursuits, they help each other quite a bit. And if you're sitting around behind a computer and working all day, then you really kind of intuit or feel like something's missing. And if you're only doing sports and activities like that, you may also feel that something's missing from the other side. So I think that balance is really key and important. And then changing it up and trying snowboarding and trying, I was a wrestler in high school and did gymnastics and ultimately moved on to rock climbing, of course, and then to ninja. And mostly now I'm rock climbing as much as I can when I'm not busy working on, one of the endeavors that I've kind of created, or being a doctor and doing medicine. But it's been so important to have that balance, to tweak it, and to stay, healthy. And it keeps you young. And studies show that the older that we get, and we're more prone to falls and hip fractures and those types of things, those are pushed back and for athletes and for people who are physical along their years. And so we know that you live a better, more physically fit, healthier, happier life if you can really integrate movement and movement sports. So I think it's something that, everybody needs, obviously. Now I'm speaking as a physician. As you and I were speaking about, I can throw on a whole bunch of different caps as an ER doc, as a father, as a black belt, whatever. I can throw on different sunglasses, if you were, and look at this from different angles or in different shades. But I see the same thing from every angle, which is that, you can live a better, happier, healthier life if you're active. And those patterns are set when you're a kid. And that's a really important part of it.
Great. So before we get too far along, can you tell me what is your current position as a physician, and what entity you're associated with, whether doctor's group or hospital or whatever?
Sure. Yeah. I'm an emergency room physician. I'm board certified until 2029, which just means I passed the very difficult test that it takes to become board certified, and did an American accredited residency in Ohio, actually. I do contract work right now. I'm working in Michigan and in Kentucky. And I go there and I'm the attending staff physician at Aspirus Ontonagon and Larium. And then in Kentucky, I'm currently being credentialed at about 5 hospitals there. Recently stopped working in a big university hospital setting in Colorado. I was a partner there for 6 years. And as with all kind of professional vocations, I think it's good to vary that up as well and get different experience. And I took what I needed out of that. And it's also very stressful being a doctor these days. And so it's important to you know, be able to move on if you're in a situation that is extremely stressful. And people are really sick, and COVID has been a nightmare. So now I'm happy to say I'm working a little bit less, and I'm a contract physician at various hospitals to underserved areas.
So to the extent that you are seeing kids in the ER and understanding that that is not necessarily indicative of their overall fitness, right? Because sometimes it's just accidents or whatever. But to the extent that you do see kids come through your ER, what's the state of their overall fitness? And, you know, do you see more obese kids than you used to, and things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And partially it depends on the state in which I'm practicing. When I was practicing in Louisiana or Ohio, there was far more obesity, even in certain parts of California. And I've had the luxury of practicing and the privilege of practicing all over the country. So I have a pretty widespread view over the last 20 years of pediatric health. And you're right, there are a lot of you know, cuts to be sewn up and fishing hooks to be taken out of fingers. But at the same time, I have seen obesity, especially in children, but in adults as well. I would say insidiously incline and appreciate in terms of the sheer numbers of obese children that I'm seeing in the emergency department. Of course, that's not an issue that I really address as an emergency room physician. I try and address it through other entrepreneurial means and work properties that I've created that try and have a positive impact. But yeah, it's been really sad to see over the years, and it's a really stigmatized and difficult thing to talk about. So as a physician, as an emergency room physician, I don't really have the rapport or the relationship with the parents to be able to say, you know, even if it's as professionally as possible, to say, hey, can we just take a second and speak about childhood obesity and some things you can do to try and get your kiddo on the right track? Even something as benign as that will be met with oftentimes frustration or anger. And, you know, are you calling my kid fat? You know, that kind of feeling. It's a horrible thing. And, you know, no, of course not. I'm looking out for the health of you and your family and your child. But it really, no matter how professionally you put it or how eloquently you put it, it really triggers people. And it's a tough thing. And so much of it is due to, you know, the foods that we eat and our food industry, in addition to the lifestyles that we're living in this country. And, you know, it's a problem of industrialized countries, but more so in the United States of America than elsewhere, which is an interesting phenomenon. So I have had a chance to see it move in the wrong direction, unfortunately, and see more obesity in the workplace.
So if you were freer to consult those parents that you meet in the ER, what would be some of the recommendations for them to improve their child's health, especially through movement and fitness?
Yeah, movement and fitness are extremely, extremely important. And, you know, number 1, 2, and 3, if a child is sedentary or, you know, playing on the iPad all day or whatever, or playing video games, or that obviously needs to change. No matter how active we are, however, the modern diet really is setting us up for failure. So I would focus a lot on diet. Getting kids fit is super important, and making sure that they have healthy habits and a healthy appreciation for activities, you know, especially outside activities. But sugar is, you know, kind of like a nightmare drug, and we don't really see it like that, but it is. And in addition to that, a lot of the foods that we're eating, the lower cost foods that are being really kind of I'm not sure if provided is the right word, but that are available to lower socioeconomically advantaged families, they're really low in nutrition. And so you end up eating a lot of empty calories to get the same nutrition value as you would from, let's say fruits and vegetables, or if you had a garden at home. So I would take a two-pronged approach. And if I did have that freedom and flexibility to discuss improving the health of the family unit and of kids in particular, and reducing obesity, and improving life happiness and health and longevity and all those things, I would take that two-pronged approach, and I would focus on, make sure your kids are getting outside, getting active, involved in sports, fitness, make sure they're doing what they love, because it's hard to motivate a kid to go to the gym and work out. But if it's playing soccer or playing baseball or playing football, then it's a real life video game, right? And it's so much fun. And I think we all have a lot of really good memories from the athletic things that have been fun in our lives. And those of us that are lucky have the opportunity to continue to have fun through fitness. And then it's like a self-feeding, self-starting cycle. And it's a virtuous cycle, because you have fun, you get in more shape. It's more fun to be fit and to be able to move your body around with fewer confines of gravity, and your what you're carrying, and that virtuous cycle keeps you in it. It's really addictive, going surfing or going climbing or going snowboarding or any one of those things. Going running. Some people really get their joy out of running, and they're crazy, because I can't run. I don't know how people run like that. But seriously though, that would be the first prong. And then the second prong would be, consider starting a garden, consider, trying to make meals more nutritious and less empty calories. That's really difficult, because if you can go get like the dollar menu at wherever fast food joint, that's so easy. You can run in, it's 10 seconds. You got a meal for your kids. It's delicious. So the kids love it. And it's just sugar, and it's just empty. There's not a lot of vitamins or minerals or all the good things that we find. Like there's actually anti-cancer promoting substances in kale and other vegetables, but you're not going to find that in a chicken sandwich or a hamburger from a fast food joint. So the kids aren't eating right, their habits are formed, and then it's a lifetime of fast food and that sort of thing. So it's really not easy. It's really not easy, because obviously in a capitalist society, I'm not saying there's a problem with capitalism, I'm not going there, but in a capitalist society, we reward financialization and economics and making money. And so for a company to make money, what are they going to make what are they going to make more money with? Like a delicious, real quick hamburger with American cheese dripping with oil and fat, and then ketchup on it, so it's got sugar, and then a soft drink that hits like all the receptors, right? The dopamine, and it's a drug. It really is. Our food is like a drug, versus the fast food joint that has like a kale burger with shiitake mushroom. Like this, not only is it going to be more expensive, but it doesn't taste as good. If you're not used to that type of food. And so, I would encourage parents to really focus on those two prongs, providing those fitness opportunities for kids and making sure they're fit through sport and through fun, healthy activities, especially outdoors, where they can get their vitamin D and enjoy nature. but then also the dietary aspects and reducing sugar and reducing reliance on fast foods and processed foods, especially. So more natural foods. I would encourage everyone in the whole world to have their own garden if possible. And if it's not possible, there are community gardens. There's other ways to be healthy, and it takes a little bit more effort, but it's worth it. It's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, you hit on a few things that I want to loop back to, and one of those is the preponderance of these ills in underserved communities, disproportionately affected by obesity, coupled with food deserts, coupled with not a lot of safe places to play, not a lot of affordable organized sports, really difficult sometimes even to just run around in the street or play in the park the way we might have done 40, 50 years ago. So what can we as a society do to improve that, especially in underserved communities?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get into some areas where, I could get over my ski tips, and there are some probably some political avenues that we could explore, and redirection of capital and malallocation of capital. Trying to stay away from areas where I'm not an expert, and public policy and things like that. I think it's clear as a physician and as a lifelong athlete that it needs to be incentive based. You can educate all you want, and in order for those lessons and those messages to stick, you really need to provide the opportunities and the ongoing, I guess, examples to the people you're trying to help and educate about how much fun this can be, and try and get people hooked on the fun aspects. I think that, I live in Colorado, which is one of the healthiest states, and I'll tell you, the amount of outdoor activities and parks and lakes and how full they are all the time. The parks are, out of control, amazing. And people use them, and it's gorgeous out. And so, I think that there's people much smarter than I am who are building organizations that try and promote positive movement and sport and fitness, and then also on the other side, promote positive health and nutrition, and lower food reliance on empty calories and processed food. So I would say that if we could, as a society, put more resources towards those very positive, health-oriented, and preventative, honestly, this is a huge preventative medicine aspect to it, then we could improve a lot of lives. And so, I think that for people in general, I think we need to make health a bigger priority from both prongs, from both the physically fit and getting active with sport and enjoying moving your body, to the more dietary nutrition based. So both of those things, and if we could put more resources into those things, then we would be better off. So, we can all vote with our votes, right? We can put people into positions to do that. But I think just videos like this, getting the education out, talking to people, public speaking, going to schools. I think schools are a huge part of this. I think that food in schools should be healthy, and there should be a huge emphasis on teaching fundamental aspects of diet, nutrition, sporting, physical activity, and those types of things. And so, I think we need to refocus as a society, because we're definitely hitting, we're redlining. We're hitting the kind of that zone where a third of Americans are obese or overweight, and we need to do something about it because it's putting a huge burden on society in terms of healthcare costs and everything. We spend, I think, like a third of our GDP on healthcare, and so that starts kind of from the bottom up with education and those sorts of things. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but I think that it starts with policy, and it starts with education, and it starts with reallocation of resources to underserved communities, and educating, and then providing the ability to make gardens and to reduce reliance on empty calories and fast food. So, and then of course, education and parks and all the things that help kids be kids, which is what they do best. You know, we're all naturally programmed to go out and enjoy our bodies and swing like monkeys in the trees. So that's how I'd start: education and reallocation of resources, probably.
Yeah, what a great answer. And I appreciate you not getting over your ski tips, because that could be a really long conversation about what's wrong with our world and who's responsible and things like that. One other area that you mentioned before that I wanted to loop back to as well, you mentioned dopamine and this virtuous cycle that comes with activity. Can you talk a little bit about the actual physiology and brain chemistry of dopamine, serotonin, and the like, and the way movement influences those?
Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. Our brain has a very complex reward system, reward and punishment system. And it's fascinating because it's tied to so many different elements of life. So I guess physiologically and kind of to prevent it or present it in a kind of a more lay fashion, we have these small chemicals that when we do something that is I don't want to say good for us, because it doesn't need to be good for us, but something that is perceived as pleasurable, or something that has been kind of hardwired in us to release these chemicals, then we release these chemicals, which are dopamine and serotonin. And these are the same chemicals that you experience with love, with feelings of pleasure, and all those sorts of things. And all sorts of things release these chemicals. When they're released, they attach to certain receptors in certain parts of our brains, which then light up. Like they'll actually light up on like a functional MRI, and part of our brain will then activate. And it's those pleasure centers. And those pleasure centers, they can't activate all the time. Otherwise, you would get what's called anhedonia, which is lack of pleasure. And some people do have that as a problem. And then we put people on SSRIs and other medications to help them experience more pleasure in life, or at least experience less of the non-pleasure or apathy. And so the interesting thing is that that reward system is very complex in terms of, how much dopamine is released, or the proportion of dopamine and serotonin, or even oxytocin, which is like the one of the love hormones, or neurochemicals that's associated with hugging or breastfeeding, those sorts of things. So when we eat candy, for example, sugar, it lights up a very similar part of the brain with that dopamine and serotonin that cocaine does. Because when we were evolving over the last hundreds of thousands of years from primal states, if you could chew on a bamboo stick or eat a banana or a piece of fruit, it would light up that part of the brain because it would give you instant energy to run away from a predator, or to be able to hunt something. You'd be, it wasn't like a piece of meat or carbohydrates are turned into sugars in our body, but complex carbohydrates are kind of a more slow release. So that instant fix of sugar from fruit would give us a very natural high. And because of the dopamine that would be released in our brain. And so then, of course, what did we do? Well, we isolated the drug that was in the fruit, that was in the guava, in the banana, in the sugar cane, and we turned it into a white powder that we just call sugar, right? And you don't think of sugar as a drug, but just like, a lot of the drugs that come from plants, it's a full-on drug, and it has an effect on our body. And it is energy. It's a very interesting drug because sugar provides energy as well as a dopamine hit. But the problem now is that whole system is, even though it's very complex, it's very easily tricked because it developed over hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years to interact with the environment. And then it was like Prometheus came down and showed us how to take the sugar from the fruit and make the drug. Now you've got a soda pop that has the equivalent of 10 peaches of sugar without all the fiber in there to slow down the transit of that sugar into your system. So the dopamine, the serotonin, those things make you feel high, and they're very addictive. People want to feel that, and they do it whether or not it's something that's good for you, like exercise or any countless other things, or something that's bad for you. But suffice it to say, you have to train your own reward system now, given the complexity of what we're offered in this world, in terms of, we can take the sugar from the fruit. We can take, we can train our own reward systems to reward us to be happy if we're doing drugs. And that's easy. You just take the drug and it makes you happy, or the sugar and it makes you happy. Or you can train the reward system to make you happy from accomplishing a goal in running, or a goal in climbing, or eating a nutritious meal. You can still get that reward system to be triggered. And so, so much of it depends on us programming ourselves to have that dopamine system triggered when we're doing things that are healthy. That's tough because so much of the reward system in society, in our society, is based around money or achieving certain status, or those sorts of things. And the quick hits, the quick fixes are where we put our emphasis on in terms of our dopamine rewards. And that's not a long-term solution for health and longevity, and for society, and for general overall happiness of the human species. So it's easier said than done. It's complicated, but if we could, if everybody understood that system, that reward system, that dopamine serotonergic system a little bit better, then we could reprogram ourselves. And I think everybody would kind of intuitively understand that we were made to interact with this environment, and that there are certain aspects of our interaction with the natural world that are healthier than others. And I think it would be better to get back to the way it was hundreds of years ago, where we didn't really take the sugar from fruits, or if we did, it was extremely expensive, and you couldn't just sit around eating bowls of ice cream. We've kind of outthunk nature and focused temporarily on the dopamine system. And I think I think humanity is going through a phase here, because I do think that we're going to get healthy again in the future. I'm very optimistic, but we're in the worst part of it. And I think we need everybody's help to turn it around, because we've lost focus.
We've got just a couple minutes left, and I would like you to focus just for a second on like the most brief, impactful exhortation you can muster for parents, school leaders, other community organizers to improve fitness. What must we do in as short a time as possible to improve these things for kids? Not this broad sweeping societal, but on an everyday basis.
Yeah, great question. Well, I'm going to put on my father cap for this one and tell you about my boy Zun. He's 11 years old. He's my pride and joy. And I just want him to be happy. I want our kids to be happy. I love kids. I mean, kids are fantastic. They're cute and adorable and innocent, and they don't know any better. And so just like when we were kids, as parents, we have an obligation and a duty to them because we love them so much. If you love your kids and you know that cigarette smoking is bad, would you give cigarettes to your 6-year-old? Well, of course not. No, nobody would do that. But the line starts to get a little bit blurred when it comes to candy and sugar and soda pop and letting them stay on the iPad all day and those kind of things. And life is complicated. But if we make our priorities our children, and if we put on our parent caps, our mom caps and our dad caps, and think about how much we love our children, let's just do it for them. All we need to do as a society is really love the heck out of our kids and think about, okay, what's really going to be best for our kids? How can we improve things? Okay, we need more nutrition in the fast food that we eat. Maybe we should not focus on making money quite as much and not make that the prime thing, but maybe we should focus on the health of our kids. And so how can fast food companies make more nutritious food, or how can we at least make cheaper alternatives for families? How can we provide those opportunities for fitness for kids? If you're a mother or father, go out and spend time tossing the football around with your kids, or playing baseball with your kids, or making an obstacle course. That's what we do in the ninja world and what we're doing for kids. Do something that's fun for them. Take them bowling. Every single day you need to do something that's fun. Stand up paddleboard. Go to the lake and swim, or learn how to swim. There's a lot of low cost things you can do. But I think that if we put our parental caps on and just get everybody to refocus in on how much we love our kids, and the problem now that we have a third of kids, between a third and a quarter of kids overweight or obese. A third of those kids are going to have heart disease, diabetes, or cancer as a result of their obesity, as a direct result. Then it's, like we wouldn't give them the cigarette because we know that's bad. But over 20 years, if we give them bad habits, or at least we don't give them good habits and educate them, then it's really, kind of a insidious slow motion thing. So I would say let's love the heck out of our kids, and so much will flow from that. And so I think if we promote education and promote organizations that really help kids to understand, being fit and to having proper nutrition, it's going to go such a long way. And so I support all those organizations. I have one of those organizations myself. We partnered up to create ninja obstacles for kids through Wolfpack Ninjas, which is kind of a spinoff on the American Ninja Warrior stuff on TV, because kids seem to love to do ninja activities. So I think it's real fun creating these great obstacle courses and playgrounds for kids. But yeah, that's with Wolfpack Ninjas. I mean, look, Fit Kids is incredible. And what what they're doing, what you guys are doing over there, and the organization you're helping with. We watch, and all these organizations, I think, have an opportunity to work together to achieve a common goal. And I think one of the problems is it's very difficult in this society, which is very bottom line focused, to really get things done if they're not revolving around money. And so many of our organizations are really trying to make an impact on kids and kids' health. And it's incredible, the opportunities to work together. But I think that as entrepreneurs, as physicians and professionals, as thought leaders in these organizations, I think that we sometimes need to start thinking about working together in ways that may not be the best for the bottom line, but are best for our overall mission, which is to help kids get healthier through fitness and activities and proper nutrition and diet. So I think that it's more important than ever to kind of team up as organizations and have a louder platform, have a stronger, broader platform, and make a bigger impact as quickly as we can. And as a physician health advocate for kids, I want to do that. So I want my organization, for example, Wolfpack Ninjas, to team up with everyone. And I really don't care if how much it costs. Obviously, we need to have sustainable business practices, but I really care about the kids, and it's time to step it up into overdrive, because it's tough times for obesity in America, and kids need our help.
Great. Noah, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us this morning. Love your work and what you're doing for kids, and all the spirit you bring to it. Thanks so much.